Telling our stories is the connective tissue of the collective human experience. The Just Keep Talking podcast delves into the lives and stories of artists. What is the impact of mental health on creativity? What does it mean to be a creative individual? Someone who feels deeply, experiences joy and pain intensely, and navigates the challenges of life through the creative process. With each story shared, we explore the authentic experience of our basic need to be seen, to be heard, and to belong. We're really not so different from one another, nor are we alone. Together, we can inspire, encourage, and enlighten each other to find the true joy and fulfillment that is within ourselves. When we just keep talking, we create the space for gratitude, self-acceptance, and grace in everyday life. In a world filled with divisiveness, fostering inclusivity and connection is a powerful way to make a positive impact. The Just Keep Talking podcast with me, Brother Love, because your story matters. Welcome to the Just Keep Talking podcast. My name is Brother Love. Your story matters. I am joined today by Alex Chont of David's Den and Josh Womack, singer-songwriter, small business owner, and huge advocate for mental health. Before we get started, I would like to just say, as a little disclaimer, we will be discussing very serious topics: suicide, suicide prevention, mental health on a very deep level. If you or anybody you know is suffering from thoughts of suicide or wanting to hurt yourself, please call 988 or the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. Good day, gentlemen. Alex, hello.
Hey, Larry, how are you?
I'm very well.
Good.
Thank you so very much. Josh, how are you?
Brother Love, I'm well.
All right.
Here.
We did an episode of Community Corner, a show that I host on Nashville's independent radio station, WRLT Nashville, 100.1 FM on the dial and lightning100.com. You can listen to Community Corner with David's Den on lightning100.com/Community Corner. David's Den is a one-of-a-kind 501c nonprofit resource in Nashville for musicians in the creative community. It is a safe space where they can get support, guidance, and friendship if they are feeling self-destructive, having suicidal thoughts, or experiencing internal pressures due to depression or other mental health matters. Thank you for being here.
Thank you again. We really appreciate you coming out. It's a big honor, and we appreciate the attention and the shine that you're going to give us.
Alex, would you tell us the story of David's Den?
David's Den started out of a tragedy. I lost my brother, David. He was 13 when he committed suicide. I've struggled my whole life with suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety. I can remember having suicidal thoughts as an adolescent. I got exposed to the game at a pretty early life. But David's Den started with the loss of my brother. I wanted to do something to honor him. I didn't know when or how it was going to be because at that time I was still working on myself. During that time I was a raging, full-blown alcoholic, drug addict, person that was just completely out of control, that had a death wish. It took some time to get to the point where we're at today. When we lost David, it kind of put me down a different path. The path I was going to was self-destruction. I knew it was going to either end with a shotgun in my mouth or me hanging. Some way it was going to end that way, and I was fine with it. But then after I seen what it did to my brother, what it did to my family, I realized that wasn't going to be an option anymore. So things kind of changed a little bit. Music has always been a passion. It's always been something that I was able to go to help through the good times or the bad times. It's always been my thing. It's always been there for me. I bounced around all over the country, whether it was on Grateful Dead tours, once Jerry passed, and it was Fish and Widespread Panic, and that's what I was doing. At that time, I was in Atlanta, Georgia, met a friend. Well, he wasn't a friend at that time. He was a merch man for the drive-by truckers. His name was Craig Linsky. He was from the same area where I was from in Ohio. That kind of made that connection. He worked for the drive-by truckers. I'm a huge drive-by truckers fan. When you're at a young age, you want to meet the band. That's all you want to do. You want to get backstage and hang out. You have all these ideas in your head the way it is. Reality, folks, is it's not. I met Craig and we got to talking, and as we broke down the barriers, he introduced me to Nucci Space because I was telling him about my anxiety. We opened up about anxiety, depression, and we just opened. I didn't realize that there's other people that really felt like me, because the other people that I was around I would never open up to because I was too cool, too tough. All those things that I had in my head that's really not true, but I thought that I was. And I would never want to tell anybody how I really felt. I was scared. I didn't think that they cared or didn't matter. But when I met Craig, I found there's a whole other community out there. He introduced me to a place called Nucci Space, which is out of Athens, Georgia.
Nucci?
Nucci Space. They're out of Athens, Georgia. I went there on a whim just to check it out. I got greeted with open arms. Nucci Space is a resource center for mental health and people that are struggling with suicide and depression. In Athens, Georgia, it's a great music scene. I went in there and everybody in there was just like me. The music that they were into, everything. I fell right in love with it. And that's when I knew I found home. And I met the people. There was a guy named Bob Sleppy, who's the director of it. He took me under his wing, and I just took it from there. I moved up here to Nashville, and I was looking for a place like Nucci Space. They didn't have one. I got sober. I reached out to Bob. I said, Bob, can we open up a Nucci Space here in Nashville? And he goes, why don't you open up your own? He goes, we're going to guide you. We're going to support you. We're going to mentor you. We're going to give you the resources. We're going to help you, but let's make it yours. So that's when I decided, okay, we're going to call it David's Den after my brother. What is my brother like? He really wasn't into music as much as I was, but he liked woodworking, crafts, stuff like that. We wanted to make some place that would relate to him too. And that's where it came into what's called The Forge, what we're into today.
The Forge.
The Forge. That's where we're at now. We partnered up with them. Before then, it was called Fort Houston. One of the founding members of David's Den, his name is Jeff Festus, one of my closest and dearest friends. He is one of the co-founders of Fort Houston, which is now The Forge. We said we needed a home, and so this is our home. It's a great place because we want to help musicians, but there's also a whole other community of creators that can come in here and do their art, do woodworking, do metal. It's a big, giant, safe place where we all come and hang out and do what we want to do. That's kind of where David's Den oriented from. I wanted to have a safe place after Nucci Space in that way. And here we are. And with Nashville, there was a ton of resource centers, but it wasn't nothing towards musicians or the creators, which totally was, I thought was crazy. But here we are. It just took off from there. I met Josh, one of our close friends. His name is Matt Jaggers. He played in a band called Uberphonics, and Josh was playing with his band, Nash Test Tracers. That's how we got introduced, and it's been a friendship ever since. Josh has been a great volunteer of ours. He's been my right-hand man for a long time. Anytime I needed help, he's been there to help with great ideas and support.
That's pretty amazing. You would think that in a town of all this creativity, there would be a lot of mental health issues, and there are. And we know this. David's Den helps to address all this. Josh, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I knew of you way before I actually knew you, and then we've met a few times. You're a singer-songwriter. Yeah. You're an artist of your own right. And so what drew you to the mental health aspect of your life?
We did get introduced to Uberphonics when Natchez Tracers. We were doing shows together. Immediately, David's Den call and mission resonated with me because I knew about Nucci Space.
Right.
I was a Widespread Panic and Drive-By Truckers fan, kind of on the peripheral of their world as an artist, looking at them as big brothers for influence, you know, musically, operationally, all the things they do creatively. And I knew how big supporters they were of that organization in Athens. When Alex and I met, I was immediately inspired. And also that we're doing it here in Nashville with my own issues within my life of having family members that have committed suicide or having friends. It just resonated with me. This is something that is close to my heart. And I think we hit it off as humans. Anything I can do to help and assist in helping people who are struggling get to a place where they can understand there's community and people they can talk to. There's no shame in communicating your struggle. And I think that resonates with me, that idea. No shame in communicating your struggle.
Me and Josh, even though we've only known each other, since 2015, 16, it's been 10 years. Our lives are very parallel. When we talk about our past and our struggles, it's all very familiar. I don't want to put too much about Josh's stuff out here, but whether if it was our family life, how our mothers and fathers were, our struggles with so many different things that we both went through. It's funny, we say, oh, well, we'll talk about something and say, I went through that too, or I understand that because the person in my life was just as well. So I think on that we can relate a lot. And it helped that connection, and it grew. I mean, obviously he's a volunteer and he helps out with David's Den, but more than that, he's a very good friend of mine, and a lot of that is bonded over the issues and the things that we had, and we were able to talk and understand each other. I think that's been a big help in our relationship.
I agree.
Too.
Yeah. You guys were about the same age. We're early 50s. I'm the oldest. I'm 53. Alex, you are 50.
51.
51.
You're both 51.
Yeah.
So Alex, when David took his own life, how old were you and how old was he?
David was 13. And I am 9 years older than David, so that would have put me at early 20s. Yeah.
Do you mind explaining the story?
Well, on that day, I was in town visiting. I say visiting, but I was there for a couple of weeks. I came back home to Ohio. I was at my mom's house. David just came home from school. And we used to razz him, as a sibling. I mean, his feet stunk all the time. He had bad feelings to me. and he
Bad
came
smelling feet.
Yeah. Yeah, some people have it, and
I know.
And he took off his shoes. It just stunk up. It's just what it was. And so, he came home, took his shoes off, and I was razzing him about his feet. He went upstairs and shot himself, and that was that was a really tough day because my mom was in the basement doing laundry, and me and my sister ran upstairs. And when we got up there, obviously, I was, in shock. We went upstairs. I was trying to put his head back trying to put his head back together. And my sister was trying to hold the door so his mom wouldn't come in and see him like that. That was a real tough day. That's what happened. I wasn't able to piece it back together. It was a bad day. And I seen what it did to my mom, what it did to my sister, what it did to me. And obviously it sent me down a horrible spiraling path. That wasn't the day that I got sober. I would say that was the day that I probably induced more and drank and drugged more. And it spiraled out from there. I mean, there was a lot to that because that was supposed to be me. I tried to hang myself before the rope broke. I tried to shoot myself. The gun didn't go off.
This was before?
Yeah, this is before.
Before your brother.
Yeah. My very first attempt at suicide, I was an adolescent, probably 8 or 9. I tried to hang myself. And then I got put into different hospitals. Another time I was probably 12 or 13. I tried to shoot myself. The gun didn't go off, thank God. It clicked, but it didn't. Probably if I would have had more experience with a gun, I probably would know what I was doing. Tried to take pills, tried to OD myself. Crash cars, and we would just go, I said, I'll just run off onto a ditch, be drunk.
Wow.
A death wish, we would just do stupid stuff, do as much drugs and alcohol as I couldn't care.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be my life. But then, like I said, I couldn't go down that anymore because I seen what it did to my mom. My mom is a completely different person than what she is today. I swear she went gray right after that. The next day, it seemed like she was gray hair. So moving forward from that, I seen suicide very up front and close. And like I said, I just couldn't do that anymore. It wasn't part of the plan. So it was bouncing through, what am I going to do? How are we going to do this? And eventually, as I got sober, that's when all this stuff really started happening for me. I was out back one day. I mean, I was pounding, I'd drink a fifth of whiskey a day. And I remember I was out in my yard. I was grilling some ribs, of course, all day. And I fell down and I couldn't get back up. I was laying in dog shit. Wife comes out, are you still having a good time?
Oh.
No, I'm not.
And you were married at this point?
Yeah, I was married. But let me just jump back from that suicide point. After that, it was a wild string of living in my van, going from city to city to city to city to city to city to city. That's all that I did. My home was my van. As far as with money, I would pitch for dollars. I would, hey, check it out. I'm trying to get home. I ran myself short. Can you help me out with a few bucks? Whatever that was. I didn't care. I ended up in Atlanta. I met a gentleman by the name of Tim Craig. I was out trying to hustle dollars, and he gave me his card and said, if you really want to make some money, come back and talk to me. I was in some weakness or needed some money, whatever that was, and I went and I seen him. He gave me a box of perfume and cologne. He said, you go out on the street and sell them. He said, I'm going to hold your mountain bike for collateral. I thought, wow, I'll go out and sell it. I said, well, I've been selling stories. This ought to be easy. I got a product. He said, well, it's not that easy. I went out and I sold all 6 bottles. I came back. He goes, you sold all 6 bottles? I said, yeah, I showed him the money. So then he said, I want you to come back tomorrow. Next time he put me in his van. Now I'm out with these guys and we're selling unbreakable glasses, cue sticks, just stuff like that out of the van. He took me under his wing and I worked my way up. I did really well at that. They call them pyramid schemes, but I don't know if they're really a pyramid or not because if you put into work and you find the right people, I was really successful at it. Things happened in that business that probably shouldn't have. Some taxes didn't get paid and stuff like that. We got shut down. I went back to Ohio for a little bit, regrouped, and met a beautiful woman up there at a bar at the time. And that was my future wife. We hit it off. Let's get the hell out of Ohio. Moved down to Nashville. I was still drinking at that time. I moved down here, got into cell phone business, worked through that, did some other stuff. Just a drunk and an alcoholic and a drug addict trying to figure out my way. One day I had enough. I got sober, and that's when I started putting my plan in motion. I finally got a clear head and started realizing, okay, this is what I need to do. I reached out to Bob at Nucci Space. I said, Bob, I'm sober now. I'm ready to get busy. Yeah. He said, let's work on yourself first. So I had to get a few years underneath me. I'm 13 years clean now. I had to work on myself first. And once I got to a good, stable place that I could help others, because at that point I still wasn't able. So that's kind of where we're at. I got sober. I went to work. My head got clean. I found a good way of living. I found out that I really wanted to help people. I wanted to honor my brother, and I wanted to show my family that I wasn't a degenerate. I had some talents and I had some things. I just had to find the right path.
You had integrity. You do have integrity. Thank you for sharing.
You. I kind of ramble and I kind of bounce all over. I'm not very good at all this, but I do appreciate it for listening.
Absolutely. I'm very good at all this. Who is good at any of this? Josh, are you good at any of this? I suffer from depression. I just celebrated 3 years of no booze. This week happens to be also the 23rd anniversary of my mother's passing. Okay. She was a very depressed person. She had a life that didn't turn out the way she wanted it to turn out. Divorce. My dad was a terrible dad. He cheated on her and he just partied and he wasn't there. He never showed up. Didn't show up for any of us or for her.
I never knew my father.
You never knew your dad. So, Josh, let's get into a little bit about you.
Well, if it's story time, I was born at Vanderbilt here in Nashville in 74. My grandfather, Bill, fought in the war. He was in sales and printing. He moved the family down here from up in New York, outside the city in 1970, I think. It was my mom and her 4 sisters and brother. Moved down here. He was, as many men from that generation, wasn't always good to his wife. He was always a traveling salesman. I think that was intentional.
Papa was a Rolling Stone.
You got it. There's songs about it. One of the ones we all know. My grandmother, Joan, was definitely the matriarch of the family. They moved down here. My mother's in her young 20s. Her and her sisters all kind of playing around Music Road, involved in the industry a little bit back then. She met a guy from Texas coming to Nashville to be a songwriter. He wasn't good. I've heard some of his music. It's not good. So he didn't make it. My father sired multiple other children around the country. We've all since connected. I never got to connect with him before he passed in Nashville in 97 when I just got back from college from Knoxville. But I never knew him. He bolted before I was 1. My mother was pretty good for a few years. And then we moved up to Boston and D.C. for a hot minute. I was born here, though. She was manic depressive. She was bipolar. Yeah. So kindergarten.
Did she know that she was depressed, that she was manic depressive?
By then, we were starting to get a clue. The first time she dropped me off back at the family here in Nashville was kindergarten. I think she had another man that she had a relationship, didn't go well. So I ended up back here and did kindergarten in Nashville. This would have been 79 or 80. She got her stuff together, and then she moved to California, following her hippie dream, super late. She moved to Berkeley when I was about to start first grade. The family thought she was okay. Thought she was good enough. So they shipped me back out there. So I go there. I land in California. She's living in Berkeley. Next door to her was a guy named Jaap. He was a Dutch woodmaker, and he had 2 daughters. And then my mother and him had an affair. He was recently divorced. There was a child from that, and he didn't want any involvement. So now my mother has me, who's about to start first grade, and this new child on the way. So we moved across the bay to Coal Valley, which is adjacent to Haight-Ashbury. They're conjoined neighborhoods. If you've ever been to San Francisco, we lived in this flat. I remember we had one bed. She had a Murphy bed. There was only one bedroom. There was a living room where I had my makeshift bedroom. It's the kitchen. She was about to have this other baby. I started at St. Agnes parochial school on Ashbury. So 710 Ashbury, the Grateful Dead house, was at the bottom of the block. 5 houses up across the street was my elementary school, St. Agnes. I was a latchkey kid. Guys our age know what that term means.
Go ahead.
Latchkey kid was, whether your parents were together or not, the way life was in the late 70s and early 80s, a lot of us would get off school and have to go home before the parents got home from work. We'd have to let ourselves in. Latchkey is you had to let yourself in with the key into the house, and then you did whatever until the parents got home. It's a miracle that 3 of us are sitting here right now, even from that time period, much less what came later. So my mother was good for years. She had the baby. She was working at Macy's in marketing. I kind of was a childhood model for a little bit. There's pictures out there. It's funny. It's comical. And then a few years later, before I started 5th grade, September was coming. I didn't go back to school, and we lost the apartment. Now we're living closer to the Haight in the Panhandle area, which is the park right next to Golden Gate, with maybe her friend/dealer. School didn't start, and a couple of weeks went by, and then...
Well, school started. You just didn't go to school. School
was happening, but not for me. There was enough money, and I was the only grandchild amongst the sisters at that time, so I was the spoiled kid. They would scrape enough money, I'd fly back and forth, get the captain's wings, meet the pilot. But this time, me and my little half-brother and her took a Greyhound from San Francisco to Nashville. I remember in Albuquerque, she was so broke, we shared macaroni and cheese. Albuquerque's still New Mexico. We're not even close to Nashville. We get there on like a Friday, if I remember. And then by Sunday or Monday, she went back with my half-brother. I was in Nashville. So much of my family is now deceased. I don't know the real truth there, and it doesn't really matter at this point anymore, but either she abandoned me or they saved me.
Right.
But I had loving people. Her mother was very kind. She was known as Ma Hal, like in the neighborhood growing up here off West End. She was loved. She was nurturing. She had a hard life, but she really did well, and she made you feel loved. And my mother's sisters, they saved me. They collectively saved me. I lived here for the rest of the time. My mother disappeared for years. I didn't see her again until what was soon to be Catherine, my wife, in 99. We go out there, see her in California one night, and she had already gotten remarried, had another kid. We see her one night, and she ups and moves those two children, one of which is my half-little brother from all the years back, all the way across country to Nashville. Both of her parents had already died. Two of her sisters had died. She never came back for their funeral. But one night, for me being there, 2 months later, she uproots them and moves them 2,000 miles away. She was crazy because she was sick. She gets back here, wants to rule the roost. We've all made our lives. I'm about to get married. I'm like, you can have a place in my life, Patty.
Patty's your mother?
Yeah, Patricia. But there are rules and there are boundaries. I've learned to get on without you. Mm-hmm. I'm building a life. And if you want to have a part in it, you have to just kind of play about where I'm building my life. She didn't. There was one time she flew off a handle and just went crazy, yelling, screaming at the phone about my wife that she didn't even know. Said awful things. I said, you know what, Patty, we're done.
Yeah.
And within the next 10 months, she drank herself to death. She died 2 months before me and my wife, Catherine, had our first child. In 2002, about the same time your mother also passed, same time period.
Yeah.
I'm going to end this little part of the story. It's going to sound horrible. For me and my family, who I've been married 25 years now, and my children are now in college, my mother not being in our life was the best thing that could have happened to my family because we would have had to work with her instability because she wasn't willing to do the work for herself to have a place in our lives. I hate saying that, but there has to be responsibility and accountability. We have to do the things that we learn, techniques. We have to listen to people who are steering us clear.
Yeah.
And she didn't. That's the long story of kind of my direct, visceral contact with mental illness. And my father was definitely not well either. There's stories I'm sure there too, but didn't know him. I knew her though.
I was talking earlier about where me and Josh related because I didn't know my father either. My real father didn't give a crap about me. He never met me, didn't care about me or anything like that. And so I grew up like the same thing. And then like with Josh, with his mother, my mother wasn't in my life until I was almost 10 years old. I was staying with my grandparents. She bounced in and out with some man, grabbed me. We'd go down to Medina or somewhere, and then that wouldn't go right. Then I'd be back at my grandparents. That went on until I was like 9 or 10, and then she came back, and all of a sudden she's back in my life, and she's taking me away from my grandparents and moved me out to this other town with this man I didn't know, and they're ready to start a family. David was my half-brother. And I always wanted a brother because I didn't know my dad, and I was told I had older brothers and older sister, and I've recently made contact with them. So a lot of our stories are just parallel with mental health in the family. I've got schizophrenia. I had a cousin named Valerie, and she was schizophrenic. She committed suicide. She jumped out of a 5-story building. She had a son. His name is Jeff. Jeff was conceived in a mental ward. When she had him, before she died, she had Jeff. The family didn't want Jeff we wanted him to stay in a family. So my mother adopted Jeff. He struggles. He's just, I hate the word shot, but he's in pretty bad shape. We try to help him and get him in places, but he doesn't stay there. He wanders. Growing up, we weren't allowed to talk about Valerie. We weren't allowed to talk about any of that. None of it. They would have rather talked about anything but mental health in our family. And then you look back at it, and I look at my cousins. There's a whole trade of us that struggle some way or another, but the elders in our family was like, you don't talk about it. And where we're at today, we can have these conversations. As grown men, we can do that and talk about it. I don't want to bounce all over the place too much, but as middle-aged men, I struggle a lot. I've been doing this for a while now and been around this a long time, and I thought it would be a lot of youth that I would be helping. And there is a lot of youth that comes and needs help. But I find it more and more middle-aged men that are coming, asking for help, that need help, or maybe even not them. It's a family member reaching out. I think there's a real epidemic of middle-aged men struggling, don't know where to go, don't know where their future is. I go through it myself. I can remember when I was 35, 25, whatever that when I was younger, I could just eat nails. I could fuck all night, do all the man shit you wanted to.
Yeah.
As I get older, guess what? I can't do all that man shit as I used to. I don't fuck all night. I can't do all that stuff that I used to do. It just doesn't work. You struggle with those. Maybe that 5-gallon bucket that I used to grab of water. Instead of one hand, now I got to use two. All these things, you start questioning yourself. Why am I here? What am I doing? Where's my future? What am I going to provide?
To middle-aged men.
And as you go from being the leader, being that person, all of a sudden, you don't have those things that you thought were important to you at one time, or you're wondering, where is this? Where am I at? Where am I going? What do do I got to contribute now? I'm older. I can't do this. I can't do that. What's the point?
True wisdom and compassion are born from touching real suffering. That's Thich Nhat Hanh, Buddhist monk, poet, and Zen master. He said that in his book, Anger, page 161, by the way. This is a conversation that I think we need to continue to explore. We are middle-aged men, and I'm so appreciative of your stories, and that you're right. There's a lot of suffering. You thought you were going to get into this work when you had clarity and you were able to share your experience and open up doors, and what you find is there are people just like yourself, your age, my age, coming in and saying, what happened? What the hell happened? I have changed my complete life in the last 5 years. I gave up the booze 3 years ago. I quit my gig that I was touring with. Yeah. My dreams didn't come true. My dreams, who I thought I was to be. I was trying to be something. I was trying to be somebody. I spent a whole life becoming somebody, right? I'm somebody. Ram Dass talks about it a lot, and I love what he says. And we spend our lives in somebody training. Baba Ram Dass, somebody training. And you realize, you get to a point, you say, well, what's my purpose? I'm not the same, and we grow, but am I evolving? Evolving. I know I'm better than I was because I'm clearer than I was, but I'm afraid to dream. I woke up in a panic. I wake up in a panic less now than a few years ago, but I said, wow, my career is nowhere near what I thought. I was going to be a big rock star, right? I got great songs. I got great band. I'm great at what I do, right? People love what I do. And then I'm like, wow, I'm still not making a living at this. Yeah. Or when I was making a living at it, I was a mess. I was a complete alcoholic, drugs. Before I met my wife, I was cheating on every woman I'd ever been with. Terrible human being. I've been married 10 years. I love my wife. I mean, it's never easy, right? What is? But I have commitments to myself. And I think that's part of this, is that we re-engage in a commitment into ourselves that I think is very, very important to do. You started your work because of the death of your brother. I'm realizing now that I'm honoring my mother. She had to deal with a divorce, going back to school and raising 3 kids, and none of her life worked out. And then she had cancer. And then she was bald and had no teeth, not much of a life at all, and lived for 12 more years in a sad, sad state. I would be at work as a singing waiter at a steakhouse in New York City. A phone would ring. And it'd be like, Larry, it's your mother. And I would get on the phone and she'd be like, Larry, I'm on the floor. I was like, oh my God, what do you mean you're on the floor? I'm on the floor. I'm like, what do you mean you're on the floor? How long have you been on the floor? I don't know, about 4 hours. I fell and then I've been crawling and I finally got to the phone. I'm in Manhattan. My mother's in Queens. I have to leave. I can't work. Obviously, I'm out of here. And it's a subway ride. It's still another hour and a half to find my mother sitting in her own shit and piss and just feels terrible about everything. She's depressed. She's sad. And she ultimately died. Not a very happy person. And I'm honoring her by sitting here and talking with you guys because this is what's important. These are the conversations that we need to have. We're so shamed into not being vulnerable. We grow up thinking, like you said, I'm a man and I can do this all these hours and this and that. And I think to what my dad taught me, man. He taught me to cheat on every woman, look out for yourself, screw everybody else, take care of yourself, man. I'm like, yeah, you did a good job taking care of yourself. I love my dad and we have a good relationship. But man, I wasn't honoring my own heart. I wasn't honoring the vulnerability deep inside. Vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. It is the source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want greater clarity in our purpose or deeper and more meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path. That's Brene Brown in Daring Greatly. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. Again, Brene Brown, my hero. This is a courageous act, sharing your story, and I really do appreciate it. My guests today, Alex Chont from David's Den and Josh Womack, singer-songwriter and advocate for mental health. Thank you so much for being here, both of you. This is a very heavy and deep conversation, so there might be some triggers here. If you or anybody you know are suffering from mental illness and thoughts of suicide, please call 988 if you need help. You can also call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. I want to talk about mental health. And I want to talk about what it is that you provide David's Den. What is David's Den, the mission of David's Den? Alex, what is it that you do day in and day out for those of us in need? Now, I suffer from mental health issues. Maybe it is mental illness. And I'm very much sad. I'm very much depressed. I'm very much wanting to not be around anybody. I've had suicidal thoughts, for sure. And I'm living in Nashville. I'm looking for an outlet. What do I do?
If you found out about us, if you stumbled upon us, whether it was on the internet or somebody told you about us or however you came across us, the first thing is make the call, whether it's yourself or somebody else. And then what we try to do is we try to set up somewhere in a neutral place if they want to go grab a cup of coffee, somewhere where they feel comfortable. And then we just go and we meet and we just talk. I like to go out myself. I usually take Jeff or somebody along with me that goes, or maybe Chelsea, she's one of our counselors, and she'll go along with us. And we just sit and talk, grab a cup of coffee. Hey, how you doing? This is what we do, where you're at. Nothing heavy unless they want to go there, but it's really more of an introduction to let them know we're here and this is what we do. Some of the services, what I do is I try to explain a little bit about myself. I tell them, hey, one of my biggest issues, I think, when I was trying to open up to people, or what I found is that if I told too much, they were going to lock me up. Somebody was going to put me away in the hospital, or they were going to do something like this. And I was always afraid to be totally honest with that person. And the other part I should say is the relatability. Because if I'm sitting with somebody and I'm trying to talk with them and I can't relate with them, whether if maybe they haven't tried to commit suicide, all these little things that's relatable to me. So when I'm sitting with you, the two things that I want that person to know is that I struggle. I struggle every day. I'm in it. I'm not a certified counselor in any way. I'm just a guy that's been through the ringer and is here to help. They know that I am somebody that has had a shotgun in his mouth. Yeah, I'm also somebody that you can tell me I'm not going to go run and tell anybody. This is our secret. Now, obviously, if there's something that, hey, I'm going to go hurt myself in 20, yeah, okay. But I want that person to know they're safe with me. That's kind of where I open that conversation, that you can tell me whatever you want. I'm not going to go run and tell anybody. This is between me and you. And I want that to open up. And there's a trust factor that has to start there. And that trust with me is opening up to them, telling my story, where I came from, what I do, all the hardships that I have and where I'm at, how I'm still struggling. Yeah. And I try to make that relatable. And then from there, maybe inviting them to go to a concert or doing something, just trying to get things out. Maybe bring along Josh, some other people that are part of David's Den, so they can all say, oh, okay, I'm seeing this group. I'm digging it a little bit. Then we offered several different things. If you need a counselor, we can get you several different counselors. If you wanted to go more a traditional route, we can go with Centerstone. We work with them. If you wanted to be more holistic, we work with Rolling Hills. If you want to do something more out of the box, hypnosis, we do that too. So there's no excuse of, I don't like this because of that. We'll give you any option to get out there, because I understand the old square box and round hole and all that kind of thing, but we want to make sure there's something out there that person can relate to. So if you wanted a counseling, we can do that. If, let's say, if they're struggling with maybe their eyesight or their teeth, and they haven't seen a doctor or something like that, what we do is we will get you a doctor's appointment or whatever that it is. And we'll get you set up with that. But part of the deal is that we have to get you on some type of insurance. And sometimes that wall is just, it just seems, I can't do that. It's so complicated. I don't even know where to begin. So we work with Music City Health Advisors. They're really geared towards musicians and creatives and finding all the little loopholes and all the good things that you need in your insurance without having to have all this other stuff to pay for it. Wow. So we'll send them down and they'll go talk with Lauren and her people down there. We'll find a package for them. And then maybe they don't have the money. So what we'll do is we'll subsidize the cost and we'll pay for their insurance to make sure that they have insurance so they can get their teeth fixed, they can get their glasses, they can get their checkups and start working on themselves a little bit. So we offer that. And then, like where we're at today, we offer a safe place where they can come, and if they want to be creative, maybe they want to start a project, they can come in here and we can start making a cutting board or any type of thing that they wanted to do. We've got volunteers that can help them come into our facility and work, do different projects. It's a safe place. We've got a wood shop, we've got a metal shop. They want to come do that. We can do art here. We've got all kinds of stuff here at the Forge that people can work and do stuff with. When people come in here, they're like, oh, so amazed and it's blown away. But this is all shiny bells and whistles. All this is really just to get your attention and get you in here. Once you get in here, then it's really about partnering up with people. When you're working on a project, you really don't know what's going on, but we're really doing some jujitsu on your mind. We're working on you and you don't even realize it because we're creating a fellowship. You're starting to get a base of people that are around you, a good support group.
Community.
A sangha. Fellowship. Exactly.
Aha.
And that's where the community comes in. Yeah. And then you start growing and they start realizing, like I did when I was at Nucci Space. Wow, there's people just like me that are here that I can relate to. I can hang out. I can talk with it. I can go and listen. I can do all the stuff that I want to do it with the same people that understand it. And if I'm struggling, sometimes they will know it without me having to say anything. And I'm safe with them and I feel good and I can have those conversations. And that's what starts opening up. And it works from there. It's fascinating to see because you see people that just came in, they don't really know what they're doing, what's going on. And then all of a sudden here, next thing you know, they're volunteering, they're here, they're wanting to help out. Exactly. And it's helping them in return.
Yeah. Love, serve, and remember.
That's perfect.
Isn't that it? That's not mine. I think that what you're able to do is be a listener, and you're creating the space for somebody to say, okay, I'm thinking about the scariest stuff ever, and there's shame involved. And what does Brene Brown talk about with shame? Shame needs 3 things to grow out of control in our lives: secrecy, silence, and judgment. And it loses its power if we speak about it, if we just keep talking, right? There's a difference between I did something bad and I am bad. And courage, vulnerability takes courage. Being vulnerable is the most courageous thing we can do. I am so sick and tired of hearing part of this country, and we're not going to go into politics right now, but when I hear people saying being vulnerable is weak, no way, man. No way, no way, no way. I've interviewed veterans. Creative Vets is an organization that does similar to what you do here at David's Den. They offer creative outlets to veterans so that they do not pull the trigger on themselves. And I sat with the exact same conversation with a veteran, and he said, I had a gun in my mouth and I did not do it for that hour because a friend called me and said, let's come to this Creative Vets and why don't you come and do some painting? And he said, all right, I'll just pick up the gun later. And he ended up not doing that. And it's a long time later, and he is serving other people. To be vulnerable, this veteran said to me, this is a guy that's killed people. He said, vulnerability is the greatest strength that I have ever had. I could never be in the armed forces if I was not vulnerable. Vulnerability is courage, and courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. I so love the fact that you're able to just tell your story. You're not certified. I'm not certified. But when I drop my wife off on a private plane to go on tour with Steven Tyler, knowing that I'm going to turn around after they go, Larry, you should come with us. And I'm like, that would be great. And I walk by all the beautiful food and all the wonderful accoutrements of a private plane. And then I go and I get in my car to go serve food and wine at an event as a caterer. And I'm not playing music. I want to close my eyes. There's a certain area on Ellington Parkway in Nashville, Tennessee. And every time I drive through this area, there's a part of me that says, if you just close your eyes, hey, no problem. Whether you die or you don't die, Larry, you're just not going to have to deal with any of this. And that's kind of where my head is. I just say it's not worth it. My life is not the way I want it to be. You're not who you think you were supposed to be, right? Let go of who you think you're supposed to be, Larry, and embrace who you are. But that's a hard thing to do. And when I'm walking through this place, the Forge, I'm seeing creative, I'm seeing passion, I'm seeing compassion, I'm seeing love. And you're right. When we're in here just working, you're doing the magic because it's the magic of community. People are so alone. There are people our age in our early to mid 50s that are so alone, and beyond every age, man, woman, gay, straight, all colors. We all suffer, but we're not able to communicate these things. We're not able to just go have a cup of coffee with a friend like you, Josh, or like you, Alex, and say, man, I'm down, man, because we're too afraid. We don't feel safe to share these things. And as men, the things that I learned growing up as a man, my mother was a bleeding heart liberal as they come, and helped and served and gave and was beautiful. And she died too young, and she was bitter because life really didn't pan out. Cancer took her love and joy. My father, being a cheating, terrible husband and father, terrible, took her joy away. And she died miserable. I know she did. And so service and love and remembering that we are more than those little moments, more than just the little moments. It's cloudy. It's cloudy a lot of the time, man. But the stars are above. There is blue sky above each and every one of these clouds. And the clouds are real. And I get that the clouds are real. They are. But you're not alone. And thank you for being who you are. Thank you for having David's Den. And I'm so sorry that you had to suffer through all of this to get to this point. But isn't that the magic of life? We didn't expect to be here in this space right here that you created. We didn't expect to be here. Josh, you're an amazing singer-songwriter. I never knew your story. I know your story a little bit better now. And you take your suffering and you turn it into love. Thanks for letting me ramble.
That was great.
My Ellington Parkway was a little bit over a decade ago when I thought I'd ruined my life for my family. And I was living in Franklin. I had to take a job in Antioch, so I was driving back and forth an hour each way. There's a bridge that goes over the Harpeth River on Old Hillsborough Road. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful drive. The Castle recording studio is right there. Fish did riff there. I would think the same, Larry. Brother Love, I would think I could just turn off the bridge right here, gun it, and there was some life insurance money that because I was trying to do right for my kids, to set them up that if they would do better without me. That relates to Ellington. One of my best friends from high school, a friend of mine from college, I talked to him for an hour on Monday. His newest wife, her daughter committed suicide in high school here in Nashville when she was 16. There's a stone bench in Ellington Park for Grace. They put a bench there. If you go walk there on the path right by the little river, by Seven Springs, the little stream, you'll see Grace's bench there. I've been struggling with, I failed a brother. So we did a fundraiser for David's Den here at the Forge on the 7th of December. It's a holiday cookie exchange. It was a great night. And me and this brother of mine and our other brothers, we had tickets to see Driving and Crying down at the Caverns. What a great place. Kevin Kinney, what a wonderful songwriter. Him and his band are playing down there. I'd already been warned that one of our buddies, who I raised my kids with in Franklin for 20 years, his wife and mine are best friends. Our children came up together. We vacationed with them. We partied with them. In the neighborhood, we did concerts. He and I almost got in fisticuffs out on Beale Street 2 years after I met him because our egos and our energy. And he was a musician and a writer and a deep thinker and thoughtful human. I had some of the best conversations with my friend about politics, spirituality, life, and family. He was struggling. We knew he was struggling for about a month before. I didn't know how bad. So I get down there. We're there driving a crowd. It's 5 of us total. And they had already let me know that our buddy was hurting. And so I get there, and I'd seen the look in his face. I'd never seen this look. And I'd seen so many different emotions. It was a look of fear and confusion. I'd never, ever seen that from this friend that I know. And we almost lost our friendship. We had a falling out, but we made it back 3 or 4 years ago. And we decided that life's too short. We loved each other. So we were good, but he wasn't good. And I knew it. And they Scarred But Smarter. It was an early record of Driving Cars. I think their first. They had a song called Scarred But Smarter. If we're scarred, don't we want to grow to be smarter? Yeah. It's this raging punk song. My friend and I, we shared this together, a love for this, and they started playing it. And I grabbed them like I'm grabbing Alex right now. I was like, man, they're playing it, bro. I got my fist up and doing and there was just no emotion. We all went to a farmhouse and crashed with the wives. He and I didn't really talk much. That night, he went straight to bed, and then the next morning, we all had breakfast together, and he was silent. And that was the last time I saw him. And then he got checked in to a facility here in Nashville a couple of days later, in my opinion. And I've worked for those organizations here in Nashville. They messed up because he wasn't sleeping, and they kept waking him up to make sure he wasn't suicidal. But I'm like, he's suicidal because he's not sleeping. Yeah. He gets back. I texted his wife, and she's busy. It was like a Thursday. He didn't get back to me. I love her. I didn't expect it. I was just like, let me know when I go talk to him. And the next morning, one of our other friends calls me at 7:30, and he killed himself. We were so close. The guilt that I have for not getting to my friend in time. We're all going through this together. It's been immensely hard 4.5 months. We just moved his wife into her new house Monday night. That was emotional. That's my struggle right now as someone who I feel like has learned some techniques for myself to combat these things that we suffer from. Things that have really been tools that I've learned, and they're tools I would love to share with anybody that wants to talk about it. But one of my closest, dearest brothers, who we shared so much closeness together, I wasn't there for him at the very end, and I feel like we could have gotten to him. We just needed a little more time, but that just wasn't available to us. And that's what I'm working through that right now, is the pain of feeling like this stuff is something so important to me and my own dearest, one of my dearest brothers. I failed him.
No, you didn't.
But that's the way I feel.
I know, that's how you feel.
That's the way you feel.
That's how I feel. Now, the rational part of me, the thinking Josh, the sciencey, smart, reason-minded part of me is my buddy, he was suffering, but it wasn't my burden to carry. It was my burden to be there for him, and I was. But I think our friend lost his mind when he went so far that I don't know what we could have done to help him. Yeah. One of my other friends, who I'm not super close with, reminded me, you can't beat yourself up because he was not this person. Like, the person that did this isn't the person you knew. We're trying to piece it together. I think he definitely struggled with anxiety. He was taking some medication for anti-anxiety, but I don't think it was like heavy depression. Brother Love, you said something earlier. I don't know if he felt like he had purpose anymore, even though he had a beautiful wife who loved him, wonderful life. He was wealthy. He was fine. He doesn't have any financial problems. His children loved him. Maybe I think in his professional life, he was given a responsibility above his comfort level, started stressing him, and he stopped sleeping. And then he started messing with his medications, and he started taking other medication to try to sleep, which I've never taken an Ambien, but for some people, I think it's a miracle drug from what I hear. And then other people, it makes them lose their mind and go do crazy stuff. But I think he was feeling some of that pressure of where do I fit in the future of my life as a 50-some-odd-year-old man like we are. And that's a real thing out there, guys. That is a discussion we need to have long and deep on, because that's a real thing.
Yeah.
In America right now, and maybe globally, men our age, we're told we could talk about our feelings, but do we really?
For sure.
Do we really?
Do we really? How about this, guys, for an idea for a show called Middle-Aged Man Show?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
The first time that I even knew what suicide was, I was in second grade and I was new to school. For whatever reason, my mom kept me into this kindergarten that went into first grade. Second grade, I was new. And being the new kid in second grade, everybody made fun of me. I was just the new kid. And I remember vividly, I was made fun of, laughed at, pushed down, and I was wearing a jet hat that I'm showing you guys this. I'll take a picture. I was wearing a New York Jets hat. Now, I'm not trying to be funny, but if you're a New York Jets fan, you should kill yourself, okay?
It's got to be rough.
It sucks.
Hey,
okay?
we're Gen X. That's dark humor. We can do that.
That is dark. That's as dark as it gets, guys. And if you're a Jets fan, you know what I mean. And if you're not a Jets fan, you still know what I mean. But I remember walking into the bedroom. I'm in second grade, and my dad's asleep, and my mom is reading, and I just said, I want to die. Mom, I want to die. I want to kill myself. And I don't even remember what she said. What could she have thought? My firstborn, beautiful little boy wants to kill himself. And I remembered how to win. I remembered how to get out of that. I remember talking to a friend, and he was Chinese. Still is, by the way. And I remember being in size order in school. And I was little and he was littler. It was like Kevin, Larry, and Mitchell's lockout after us. I just remember being like, Kevin, I don't understand. You seem so happy. He's like, what's the matter? We're having this deep conversation in second grade.
Second graders.
And I'm like, I'm just depressed. I don't even know if I knew the word depressed. I said, I'm sad and I don't have any friends. And he said, Larry, you got to make them laugh. That's what you got to do. You got to make them laugh. I make them laugh. And I realized later it's called a winning formula, right? It was a formula to win. By 2 years later, they were all my best friends. All the people that pushed me down and that got the girl that I wanted that didn't. And I wanted to play drums. Then the popular guy played drums. I was always so sad. Aha, I won. I made them laugh. I did the things I was able to figure out.
Found a way.
I found a way. But you know what I didn't do? Take care of myself.
Take care of yourself in that, yeah.
All I was doing was tap dancing, proving, performing, and pleasing just to get by.
Yeah.
And so the conversation for a middle-aged man to have this, I'm filled with hope, gentlemen. I'm filled with joy because this is something that we need to talk about. Just keep talking about a whole lot more. And I want to do more of this conversation here on out.
It's vital.
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for letting me talk about my current issue of feeling like I failed a brother. That's where I am, and I'm struggling with that.
Yeah. And that is honest, and it's vulnerable, and it's real. And this is, for those of you listening, there's 3 guys sitting around with tears in their eyes. And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It really is okay. Could I have done this 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Sit with 2 strangers that I barely know and talk about wanting to kill myself? And you talking about your experiences with suicide and with your friends and your loved ones? I don't know any of these people. Yeah. I barely know you. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote here Thich Nhat Hanh, Zen Buddhist master. Again, when we act as a community of practitioners infused with the energy of mindfulness and compassion, we are powerful. When we are part of a spiritual community, we have a lot of joy and can better resist the temptation to be overwhelmed by despair. Despair is a great temptation in our century. Alone, we are vulnerable and afraid. If we try to go to the ocean as a single drop of water, we will evaporate before we ever arrive. But if we go as a river, if we go as a community, we are sure to arrive at the ocean. I feel like part of a community with you, gentlemen. I really appreciate you very much. Josh Womack, singer-songwriter, advocate for mental health. Where do we find you? You got shows coming up. Just give us a little commercial for yourself, Josh Womack.
I'm doing this monthly thing at Brown's on a Saturday once a month from like 3 to 4. Just me and my songs, no accompaniment, just me, my voice, my heart, my songs, guitar. And then my new band, Turquoise Gate, we play about once every few months. We're playing at Eastside Bowl coming up on the 31st of May. The best way to find me is joshwomack.com. That's the way to find me.
Alex Chont, David's Den. You do so much for so many. How do we get in touch with you? Please.
Yeah, you can find us at davidsden.org. If you're on Instagram or Facebook, it's David's Den or davidsden_Nash for Instagram. You can also reach us out here. We're at 217 Willow Street. 37210. So you can come here, stop in and see me live. Also, we have a few things going on. June 1st at Brooklyn Bowl, we are teaming up with Sympathy Wrestling. So we're going to have a wrestling event, which is going to be really fun. It's going to be family friendly. That's going to be on a Sunday again, June 1st. And then we're here at the Den on July 19th. It's going to be at night, and it's going to be a more rock and rollish adult wrestling kind of thing. So that'll be fun. And then we're going to be out at Bonnaroo again this year. We'll be at the house stage. We're going to be putting on some shows. Josh Womack doesn't know this yet, but we'll tell him now. He's going to be performing. And we're going to also give some talks. We'll have a booth out there, so you can always stop out there and see us. Or you can get online, get on our website. We got a lot of stuff happening all the time. Just come out and join us.
Thank you so much. David's Den. If you are in pain, if you feel like you're going to hurt yourself, please, Suicide Prevention Hotlines, 988. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. You are not alone. Your story matters. We need to just keep talking. I thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Brother Love. You can find me and all things Just Keep Talking at justkeeptalking.com. Got our website rocking and rolling. This podcast is on all platforms, everywhere you find your podcasts. If you enjoy what you're hearing, please subscribe. You can leave a tip, which is another new beautiful thing thanks to technology. Thank you so much for tuning into the Just Keep Talking podcast. Again, my name is Brother Love. Your story matters. Be seen, be heard, and belong. From my heart to yours, thank you. We'll see you again soon. You can personally support this show simply by clicking the tip link in the show notes. The Just Keep Talking podcast is now available on all podcast platforms. Please like, share, and subscribe. Visit our website at justkeeptalking.com, our YouTube channel at Just Keep Talking Podcast, and Instagram at The Just Keep Talking Podcast. We all just want to be seen, to be heard, and to belong. Thank you so much for supporting my mission and the Just Keep Talking podcast with me, Brother Love. Until next time.